everyone, I have a mini announcement for you today. I guess it's not really a mini announcement, it's just an announcement because this is the culmination of about 6 months of work with planning before that and a whole long-winded saga of how I got to this point, and I am really excited to announce that I have got an audiobook for my book Self-Publishing. This isn't my first audiobook. I have an audiobook for Lily the Limpet Gets Lost as well, but that's a children's book. It's a lot shorter. So the process of producing this book obviously is more recording, more editing, more. So yeah, it's been a lot of work, and audio is such an important format for me. So I am really excited. I mean, it's an important format to lots of people. Yeah, I'm really excited to have this. If you are unfamiliar with my book Self-Publishing, it came out in 2021, and it goes from starting off with how to edit your draft, then how to format for ebook, for print, marketing, book launch, all of the things. So it really takes you through from when you've written that story to then what you do with it to get to publication day. So I will stick links below of where you can find it. Basically all of the places. So if you go to wherever you normally get audiobooks, it should be there. If it's not, give it a couple of days, because sometimes it just has to rumble through the system, you know, the metadata has to sort of populate everywhere. So if it's not there, just bear with, and if it's just not showing up, let me know and I'll see what I can do from my end, but it should all go swimmingly. Such good. Yeah, so I am really excited for this. I wanted to talk a little bit about why audio is so important to me and why I have chased this audiobook thing, even though arguably it's been a lot of work and many would have quit. So yeah, why it's been important to me and sort of a brief overview of this whole experience, really. So for me, when I was a kid, Mum and I would go to the library and I would rent out audiobooks on cassette, where you got them in a little case, and I would listen to audiobooks while I was tidying my room, or I don't know, getting ready, or playing computer games that had boring music. So even when I was younger and when audio wasn't so accessible, I've always loved audiobooks. Mum would often have audiobooks playing, so I'd be listening into those. We lived in the kind of household where there was always something to listen to. Neither I nor my mum like silence, so there'd always be music or radio or an audiobook going. So then, even still, I still struggle with silence. I find that listening to something helps me to focus. So I often have headphones in, which really annoys other people. But for me to have an audiobook or a podcast, it's usually spoken word rather than music. I can sort of tune into that, and then I just kind of bimble about and get on with whatever it is I'm doing, because my attention is on what I'm listening to, and I find that really helpful. I've talked before that I think I possibly have ADHD, and so I don't know if that's why, but I just find it, when it's silent I feel on edge, and when I can listen to something it's like my attention has something to grip onto and I can just sort of get on and I feel calmer. I'll listen to books or podcasts when I'm driving. When I'm running, I can't run to music, I have to listen to words. So for me, it's a whole thing. I still listen to a lot of spoken word type stuff. It is often podcasts these days. So yeah, audio is really important to me. Of course, not only that, it means that my book is accessible for people with visual impairment, or with dyslexia, or they just prefer audiobooks. I mean, there are lots of people who only listen to audio because they can listen to audio while they're doing something else, and it just takes so much time to read a print or an ebook because you have to focus and not be doing something else. So as someone who consumes audio and who kind of empathises with those who also love to consume audio, it's important to me. Not only that, I also really see the potential of audio from a business perspective, that with smart speakers and sort of similar technology, that we're getting to a point where you could say to your smart speaker, I'm not going to say the words because I've got a few different, I've got the Amazon one and I've got the Google one and I've got the Apple one, all within ear's reach of me, so excuse me not saying the words. Also, if those devices are around you, it will be annoying. So we're moving to a point where you can speak to your smart speaker and ask for a book about whatever, or a book by whoever, or make a suggestion to me based on the other books that I like. And so with that technology being so prevalent on our phones, in our homes, and surely only getting more so, I want in. I want to be a part of it. So for me, audio, right from the start of my writing career, audio has been something that I have wanted to do. So that's where we come to, how did I get here? Well, when I published my first book, Milk, it wasn't long before I started wanting to produce an audiobook, and so I started to do so. I borrowed a USB mic off of a friend. I recorded the entire book, which takes hours. You know, this would have taken me weeks and weeks and weeks to record all of this audio. And then I sat down to edit it and it was unusable. So the quality wasn't great. There was a lot of hissing. Sometimes with USB mics, they kind of, they overdrive the system a lot. So you get a lot of background noise, and that was the case here. And you could hear people outside, birds, whatever. My voice would be different on different days, and I wasn't necessarily stopping at the end of a chapter. And part of the issue as well is if I had to redub something, I now sounded completely different because the room tone would be different, my voice sounded different, the whole thing. I started editing it and I was like, this is a mess. I remember I did a couple of chapters, I exported them onto my phone so I could listen to them. And I didn't listen to much before I went, this is just unlistenable to. As a consumer, there is no way, like, this quality is not good enough, nowhere near. So I dropped it. And I'd made a video or two about it, which are now on private because I feel it's bad advice. And yeah, I thought, well, that's that, never mind. But I kept on researching it, and I then purchased, in fact it's up here, my Snowball mic, which, can you see it? Sorry, I can't actually get it down. I've got a new Snowball. I can't put it back. So I'd done a lot of research and I had read that that was a really good budget microphone. I know a lot of people use it for things like, even like gaming, because it's just got a really good sound. It's not too expensive, it's very easy to use, and I must say that was my experience. Unfortunately, mine is, I guess, secondhand, and the switch just stopped working on it very well, and it became more and more of a problem, and it makes a lot of electronic noise, and I really fight with it. I actually don't use it anymore, so I should probably get rid of it. Yeah, so I re-recorded all of the audio using that. I made myself a like a booth at home. All of this is on my YouTube channel, so if you want this kind of DIY at-home process, it absolutely would have worked. The reason I had to not use that audio, which I recorded twice, I have recorded my book Milk 3 times at home. So I, again, sort of had issues with noise outside, dogs barking, and if I was in my studio I couldn't hear necessarily what was going on outside because I'd quite often have headphones in, so I would miss the fact that somebody was driving into where I lived or that somebody was talking, and it just picked up all of that. I couldn't get enough quiet, and again I had problems with the sort of tone of my voice, and just trying to record the audio quickly and not having to sit and wait because next door was cutting hedges or something, you know? And again, I was left with audio that I could not edit. In fact, I didn't fully record it 3 times. The third time I was trying to record and then edit each chapter and do it a chunk at a time, and I just gave up. So yeah, that was the point where I went, you know what, this has taken me hundreds of hours and I'm still not happy, and I can't do this anymore. In amongst all of that, I did record Lily the Limpet Gets Lost, and because it's much shorter, I was able to record at a quiet time, get good sounding audio. So that audiobook is recorded with that DIY at home process, and it worked, and it's out there, and you know, wonderful. So shorter was possible. But then I rested it, and it was something that always bothered me that I didn't have an audiobook, because as I say, it's just really important to me, and I just couldn't see how it was accessible. And then at some point, after I published self-publishing in 2021, I started to message local studios, because I thought, this is going to be the only way I can do it, because I can go into the studio, I can just record with no disturbances, the audio should be pretty much perfect, record all of it in hopefully one session, and then I can edit it, because I have the skills for that. I just need really clean audio and not to have to stop and start. Because this is the thing, if I'm doing the DIY approach, as I said, I think, okay, I've cleared today so that I can work, and I sit down to record, and the next thing, as I say, phone ringing, dog barking, whatever. And I thought, this way I can clear a day, I know that the audio is going to be, you know, there's not going to be all these disturbances and sounds, so I can get a really good record, and then I can edit that myself in my own time. So I got some information, and eventually I decided to go with a studio called Century Audio, and we planned it all out. And then I think one of the guys there had a baby. I have a feeling the pandemic didn't help in amongst all of it. And it just got sort of delayed, and then I had a thing, and then they had a thing, and so it just took a while for us to actually get round to doing it. And then in January this year, I think it was January, I'm pretty sure it was, I finally went in, and we managed to record the entirety of self-publishing in a day. So why not Milk, by the way? I should say this. Why self-publishing and not Milk? Well, Milk came out 5 years ago, and I do still sell copies of the book. The book is still relevant, but for me, it seemed like spending more money on something which is sort of in my back catalogue and which isn't going to generate much sort of excitement and interest, whereas self-publishing is much newer. It came out December 2021, and is sort of more current. Also, it's shorter. It's probably maybe slightly less than half of the length. So I thought, let's start with something a little more achievable. It just seemed like a sensible thing to do. So I went with self-publishing. And yeah, we recorded in the studio. I then did a final edit and master, and then uploaded it, and here we are. So whilst the DIY approach absolutely works if you have somewhere in your house that is much quieter than I had in my old house, I haven't tried here, and if your audio is on the shorter side, then that's going to be easier. So it does work, but I never got anywhere close to a full-length book. So if you have something shorter, or if you have a really quiet house, then wonderful. Otherwise, actually, booking a studio was not that expensive in the grand scheme of things. It was a really interesting process, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. So one thing that I wanted to say is that in amongst all of that, I had a podcast, which I might bring back and I might not, I don't know. But the episodes that exist are there if you want to have a look. There's a link below. And producing the podcast, what that did for me was I stopped being such a perfectionist, because when you're producing a monthly episode in amongst everything else, and you've got, you know, a much more casually recorded thing, you let things go a lot more. And I learned that I it didn't have to be absolutely perfect, and that was really important. That's not to say that this audiobook isn't like really good, but I can be really stupidly picky, so it just allowed me to take a step back, and that made the whole process easier too. So if you're thinking of making an audiobook, sorry, someone's mowing the lawn. This is what I mean. So if you're recording an audiobook, try the DIY thing, see how you go, but if you need to go into a studio, achievable too. The editing process, which I'll link all of my audiobook videos, so the editing process remains the same. So if you can't get a good, clean record at home, do that in a studio, and then still edit yourself if you have the ability to do so. It's totally doable. So as I say, in a way, getting to this point where I have a full-length audiobook really goes back to the start of my career. So where from now? Well, my next plan is to book a couple of hours in the studio where I can go and record my children's books. I want to re-record Lily the Limpet Gets Lost, not because of quality or anything. I just made some edits when I brought out the second edition, so I would just like to re-record it. Secret Seagrass Meadows, Milk and Cookies, and potentially the next one. So I'm going to try and time it so I can do all four and then kind of edit at my leisure and bring those out so that everything other than Milk is in audio. Will I ever make an audiobook of Milk? I would love to. It is absolutely my white whale. I would love to have that book in audio. I mean, another thing is the whole multiple streams of income thing and having it in a different format that accesses a different audience and all of that. I even paid for an audiobook cover that I've never used. So I would like to, but in reality, the amount of time that it would take me, and time is money, but I mean in it taking away from me doing other things, yeah, the amount of time booking into a studio, it would be, it's a big investment in time and in money that really probably won't give me a return. So unless these other audiobooks are a raging success, and then maybe I will. Maybe I'll be a millionaire and then I'll, you know, pay for like a sound engineer to do all the editing for me so I can, it's not going to happen, is it? Yeah, I will definitely do the children's books. I don't think I will go back to doing Milk. I hope that you like the audiobook if you have a listen. I really hope that it enables some of you who were interested but didn't get the print version, that it enables you to access the book. So yeah, but it's out there and I did it. And for me, that's like a big tick. I can leave that behind and kind of breathe and go, okay, on to the next thing. So yeah. Check out the links if you are interested. I will link the audiobook. I will also link my videos on how to record, edit and upload an audiobook, or all of the stuff. So take a look if you are interested. There goes the lawnmower again. So seems like a good time to say thank you so much for watching. I hope that was helpful. I hope you like the book, and take care. I'll see you again soon.